The last thing we want is to ban all airplanes and only then find out that China or Russia may have already established strategic hippocampus programs designed to cut the United States out of the global market. Mr. President, we must not allow and cannot tolerate a giant seahorse gap.
Not only can the regressive left not meme, but they also can't take a joke.
This is serious.
Because now they want to censor good humor or trolling on the Senate floor.
Senate Democrats plan to shut down Republican trolling on the Green New Deal.
Now, while perhaps not as efficient in some ways as airplanes or as snowmobiles,
I don't think so.
these hairy bipedal species of space lizards offer their own unique benefits.
I don't think so.
Senate Democrats plan to shut down Republican trolling on the Green New Deal. Progressives, including Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, have already given their blessing. What are they talking about? What is this? What's the headline? It's like they wrote an article assuming you already know. You already know it's happening. No, in fact, it seems like they wrote an article that makes no sense with this headline. But when you pull up a different story, it starts to make sense. Makes me question what the hell Vox is writing about and why they're framing it the way they did. Sink or swim, AOC's anti-plane, anti-cow Green New Deal set for Senate vote today. That explains it.
Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez slamming Senate Republicans ahead of a planned vote on her proposal. Ocasio-Cortez says the vote is a political stunt. AOC comes up with this idea called the Green New Deal, and then she gets mad when Republicans bring it for a vote.
Why? Because it's probably going to get shot down. Because it's insane.
I mean, it's bizarre.
This bill is it's insane.
It's ridiculous.
I think this Green New Deal is so fantasy land, and someone really needs to kind of explain to her what the problems are.
So let's read this, and then we'll jump over to Vox and see what they're talking about. How is it trolling to present a vote on a bill you presented?
Riddle me that.
So the whole plan is a big ball of you-know-what.
And she's trashing the Republicans for bringing it to a vote. Why is she trashing the vote? What does she want? She just wants us to talk about it. She doesn't want to. She doesn't want to see who's behind it and who isn't.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Sometimes the U.S. Senate makes the momentous decisions that alter the course of history and affect the lives of every American. Other times, the august body takes a vote on a bill just to embarrass the legislation's backers.
This is serious.
A vote Tuesday will be distinctly on the latter variety. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell will put a proposal laid out by the House newcomer Ocasio-Cortez, which he calls the Green New Deal, to a full Senate vote on Tuesday, and he's positively giddy about it. I could not be more glad that the American people will have the opportunity to learn precisely where each one of their senators stand on the Green New Deal, McConnell wrote Monday on Twitter. A radical top-down socialist makeover of the entire U.S. economy that even the AFL-CIO, the largest federation of unions, opposes.
People are on board. A lot
but
of
it doesn't
big
make
names.
sense, Christina.
I agree with you. I agree that there's a lot in there that doesn't make sense, but people are
All of it.
McConnell's move will put Democrats on the record as to whether they support the Green New Deal under the draft plan.
The fact that a lot of politicians have come on board the Green New Deal does not validate anything about the Green New Deal.
Cortez proposes eliminating all fossil fuel-powered electricity. That would shutter all coal and natural gas power plants across the U.S., costing hundreds of thousands of jobs. Oh, and she also wants to get rid of all gas-powered cars in 10 years, along with planes too. Did we mention cows?
Say
Well, they didn't say they wanted to get rid of cows.
Not that simple.
They said they didn't think they could get rid of farting cows.
Flatulating cows.
Because cows fart producing methane or whatever.
If they think the cows smell bad, just wait till they get a whiff of the seahorses.
say.
According to a prematurely released outline of the deal, which was later retracted, the New York Democratic Socialist and fellow bill sponsor Edward Markey set a goal to get net zero rather than zero emissions in 10 years because we aren't sure we'll be able to fully get rid of farting cows and airplanes that fast. Well, you won't.
I don't think so.
Ocasio-Cortez has ripped the coming Senate vote, which will not pass because Republicans control the chamber, as wasting votes in Congress. The GOP's whole game of wasting votes in Congress to target others on the record for leg they have no intent to pass is a disgrace. She wrote Saturday on Twitter, "Stop wasting the American people's time." Hold on.
What you talking about, lady?
You're saying that he's wasting people's time by asking them to vote on a bill you proposed? Who's wasting time? Did you write a bill with no expectation of Senate voting on this bill? What is the point of presenting it if you're upset now it's moving forward? It sounds like you are wasting people's time. I can't stand politicians, period. Republicans, though, feel just the opposite. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Republican trolling.
This is serious.
Wow. Ocasio-Cortez is like, I would like to design a sign that says the end is nigh and have her wave it around.
I don't think so.
No, the world is not going to end in 12 years. That's ridiculous.
This is serious.
Cortez is a conspiracy theorist.
I don't think so.
I think McConnell wants to humiliate. It's a strategic position where he's willing to bet, I would agree with him, that most Democrats will not support this because the average Democrat doesn't support this. They like to claim it's popular.
What it says is they're afraid to death of AOC and her Twitter followers because they get mugged every time they disagree with her.
You are not in any way trying to build bridges or do democratic politics as it should be, as in through compromise, through discussion. You do it through browbeating and intimidation and harassment on Twitter.
If it was popular, though, then why would you need to mark it up or revise it? The amount of revisions to this would be insane. It's so crazy. Second page is full of identitarianism, nonetheless.
Climate change, socialism, and the Green New Deal.
Did you see the plaid?
Yeah. After reading the Green New Deal, I'm mostly afraid of not being able to get through this speech with a straight face. For Mr. President, I rise today to consider the Green New Deal with the seriousness it deserves.
This is serious.
This is, of course, a picture of former President Ronald Reagan naturally firing a machine gun while riding on the back of a dinosaur. You'll notice a couple of important features here. First of all, the rocket launcher strapped to President Reagan's back, and then the stirring, unmistakable patriotism of the velociraptor holding up a tattered American flag, a symbol of all it means to be an American. Now, critics might quibble with this depiction of the climactic battle of the Cold War, because while awesome, in real life there was no climactic battle. There was no battle with or without velociraptors. The Cold War, as we all know, was won without firing a shot. But that quibble actually serves our purposes here today, Mr. President, because this image has as much to do with overcoming communism in the 20th century as the Green New Deal has to do with overcoming climate change in the 21st. The aspirations of the proposal have been called radical. They've been called extreme. But mostly, they're ridiculous. There isn't a single serious idea here, not one. To illustrate, let me highlight two of the most prominent goals produced by the plan's authors. Goal number one, the Green New Deal calls essentially for the elimination of airplanes.
The lash is going to come off.
Now, this might seem merely ambitious for politicians who represent the densely populated northeastern United States. But how is it supposed to work for our fellow citizens who don't live somewhere between Washington, D.C. and Boston? In a future without air travel, how are we supposed to get around the vast expanses of, say, Alaska during the winter? Well, I'll tell you how. Tauntauns, Mr. President. Native to the ice planet of Hoth. Now, while perhaps not as efficient in some ways as airplanes or as snowmobiles, these hairy bipedal species of space lizards offer their own unique benefits. Not only are tauntauns carbon neutral, but according to a report a long time ago and issued far, far away,
Oh my gosh.
they may even be fully recyclable and usable for their warmth, especially on a cold night.
Sorry.
What about Hawaii? Isolated 2,000 miles out into the Pacific Ocean. Under the Green New Deal's effective airplane prohibition, how are people there supposed to get to and from the mainland? And how are they supposed to maintain that significant portion of their economy that's based on tourism? At that distance, swimming would, of course, be out of the question, and jet skis are notorious gas guzzlers. No, all residents of Hawaii would be left with is this. This is a picture of Aquaman, a superhero from the undersea kingdom of Atlantis, and notably here, a founding member of the Super Friends. I draw your attention, Mr. President, to the 20-foot impressive seahorse he's riding. Under the Green New Deal, this is probably Hawaii's best bet. Now, I'm the first to admit that a massive fleet of giant, highly trained seahorses would be cool. It would be really, really awesome. But we have to consider a few things. We have no idea about scalability or domestic capacity in this sector. The last thing we want is to ban all airplanes and only then find out that China or Russia may have already established strategic hippocampus programs designed to cut the United States out of the global market.
Oh my God.
Mr. President, we must not allow and cannot tolerate a giant seahorse gap. Goal number 2. The Green New Deal anticipates the elimination of all cows. Talking points released by the sponsors of the resolution the day it was introduced cited the goal of, quote, fully getting rid of, and I'll paraphrase a little bit here, flatulating cows. Now, Mr. President, I share their concern. But honestly, I think you've got to remember that if they think the cows smell bad, just wait till they get a whiff of the seahorses. But back to the cattle. I've got a chart to illustrate this trend. As you can see, Mr. President, on the left, these little cows represent the bovine population of America today. On the right is the future population under the Green New Deal. We would go from about 94 million cows to 0 cows. No more milk, no more cheese, no more steak, no more hamburgers.
Excuse me, the fuck did you just say?
No more hamburgers. Over the state work period last week, I visited some farms to find out for myself what Utah's own bovine community might think of the Green New Deal. Every cow I spoke to said the same thing. Boo. The authors of this proposal will protest that these goals are not actually part of the Green New Deal, but were merely included in supporting documents accidentally sent out by the office of the lead sponsor in the House of Representatives.
That's not entirely accurate.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has published an outline for her Green New Deal, and she was quickly ridiculed across the internet, across both political parties. People who were involved with her push for the Green New Deal are walking things back, saying they were unaware of some of the language in her fact sheet.
Bullshit. Robert Hockett is here. He's a law professor at Cornell. He's advising Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on the Green New Deal, and he joins us. Professor, thanks very much for coming on. So can I just ask the obvious question? Why would we ever pay people who are, quote, unwilling to work?
We never would, right? And AOC has never said anything like that, right?
Bullshit. Cortez released a fact sheet along with the bill. In it, they claim they would provide economic security for those unwilling to work. That literally makes no sense. It's not possible to have a system where you tax the wealthy but then give money to people who aren't doing anything, because then no one will do anything.
I think you're referring to some sort of document that some doctored document that somebody other than us has been circulating.
In reality, they published this themselves.
Oh, I thought that came right from her. That was in the background or from her office, is my understanding.
No. She's actually tweeted it out to laugh at it. If you look at her latest tweets, it seems that apparently some Republicans have put it out there.
Big time, major league bullshit.
They published this themselves.
Okay. That unwilling to work line, which you're obviously embarrassed about, and you should be, of course.
No, I'm not embarrassed.
That
it's
was
just not
in
us.
the document.
It's not embarrassing. No, Tucker. No. We're not embarrassed by what's not ours. No, Tucker.
Gotcha, bitch. It seemed a little ridiculous. Almost as ridiculous as the idea that we're going to build enough light rail to make airplanes unnecessary, which I think actually is from the plan.
I don't know where you got that either, Tucker. I actually believe that you're actually on our side about this if you actually read the actual plan, right? There's nothing about getting rid of anything.
How does that make you feel? So I don't think that's made up. Gotcha, bitch.
This only makes my point. The supporters of the Green New Deal want Americans to trust them to reorganize our entire society, our entire economy, to restructure our very way of life, when they couldn't even figure out how to send out the right press release.
It seemed a little ridiculous.
The Green New Deal is not a serious policy document because it's not a policy document at all. It is, in fact, an aesthetic one. The resolution is not an agenda of solutions. It's a token of elite tribal identity, and endorsing it, a public act of piety for the chic and woke. And on those embarrassing terms, it is already a resounding success. As Speaker Pelosi herself put it, quote, "The green dream, or whatever they call it, nobody knows what it is, but they're for it, right?" Right. Critics will no doubt chastise me for not taking climate change seriously.
This is serious. This should not be a partisan issue. This is about our constituents and all of our lives.
But please, Mr. President, nothing could be further from the truth. No Utahn needs to hear pious lectures about the gravity of climate change from politicians from other states. For it was only in 2016, as viewers of the Sci-Fi Network will well remember, when climate change hit home in Utah, when our own state was struck not simply by a tornado, Mr. President, but by a tornado with sharks in it. These images are from the indispensable documentary film Sharknado 4. They captured the precise moment when one of the tornado sharks crashed through the window of Utah's Governor Gary Herbert. A true Utah hero and a fine American, Governor Herbert, who, by the way, is an incredible athlete and an expert tennis player, Governor Herbert bravely fought the animal off with the tennis racket that he keeps by his desk, precisely for occasions such as this. So let's be really clear, Mr. President. Climate change is no joke, but the Green New Deal is a joke. It is the legislative equivalent of Austin Powers' Dr. Evil, demanding sharks with frickin' lasers on their heads.
Okay.
This is serious.
I'm gonna die.
I can't do it.
We are facing a national crisis.
The Green New Deal is not the solution to climate change. It's not even part of the solution. In fact, it's part of the problem. The solution to climate change won't be found in political posturing or virtue signaling like this. It won't be found in the federal government at all. You know where the solution can be found, Mr. President? In churches, in wedding chapels, in maternity wards across the country and around the world. Mr. President, this is the real solution to climate change. Babies.
I don't care how many of your kids died.
Climate change is an engineering problem. Not social engineering, but the real kind. It's a challenge of creativity, ingenuity, and most of all, of technological innovation. And problems of human imagination are not solved by more laws. They're solved by more humans. More people mean bigger markets for more innovation. More babies will mean forward-looking adults, the sort we need to tackle long-term, large-scale problems. American babies in particular are likely going to be wealthier, better educated, and more conservation-minded than children raised in still industrializing countries. As economist Tyler Cowen recently wrote on this very point addressing this very topic, quote, "By having more children, you're making your nation more populous, thus boosting its capacity to solve climate change," close quote. Finally, Mr. President, children are a mark of the kind of personal, communal, and societal optimism that is the true prerequisite for meeting national and global challenges together. The courage needed to solve climate change is nothing compared with the courage needed to start a family. The true heroes of this story aren't politicians, and they aren't social media activists. They are moms and dads, and the little boys and girls that they are at this very moment putting down for naps or helping with their homework, building tree houses and teaching them how to tie their shoes. The planet does not need for us to think globally and act locally so much as it needs us to think family and act personally. The solution to climate change is not this unserious resolution that we're considering this week in the Senate, but rather the serious business of human flourishing. The solution to so many of our problems, at all times and in all places, is to fall in love, get married, and have some kids. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
Reaction?
I mean, first of all, it is unacceptable to be, disrespectful. I'm first and foremost saddened and upset at the disrespect that he displayed.
Now, while many people are criticizing the language of the fact sheet, I took a look at the actual bill, and in it we can see there is a pretty heavy push for intersectionality, race-based policy, identitarianism, and overt socialism.
I mean, it's bizarre, to say the least.
This bill is it's insane.
I don't think so. I don't think so. But aside from that, when we talk about the concern of the environment as an elitist concern, 1 year ago, I was waitressing in a taco shop in downtown Manhattan. I just got health insurance for the first time a month ago.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
We have the choice to lower the cost now, because I can tell you the cost of pursuing a Green New Deal will be far less than the cost of not passing it.
So, Red Cortez's flagship Green New Deal, her big initiative. This was the great contribution she was going to make. Got absolutely crushed in the Senate. 57 against with 0 in favor. Bam! That's what you get.